Thanks everyone for listening to another episode of Simply Finance with Shane White. I am privileged today to have Kent Yoshimura on the podcast, who is the CEO and co-founder of Neuro. And without really much further ado, Kent, I'll let you kind of give you a little bio background for yourself, and I might throw some things in after you introduce yourself.
All right, yeah, fill in the blanks because I tend to miss a lot of things. Um, we're a functional gum and mint company. So, unlike other gum and mints that exist in the marketplace or supplements which come in pill form, we try to bridge the gap between those two so that health can be with you whenever and wherever. And a lot of that started primarily on the the foundation that Ryan, my co-founder, and I came from athletic backgrounds, and we didn't really have an option to find something that we could take with us that was healthy and convenient at all times. So here we are, many years later after college, but now with a business.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was gonna say, I was laughing because I've looked up Neuro and I followed you guys for a little bit, but then I started looking at like your LinkedIn today, Kent, and I'm like, wait a minute, this guy, you you have a double black belt in karate and judo. Is that correct?
Yeah. It's like martial arts was like my entire life
That's
growing
awesome.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know that because I heard you talk about athletic background. I'm like, oh no, this guy can like kick ass. He's got he's got two black belts. You have a whole background in scuba diving too. I saw on there.
Not a background, but I
No.
like scuba diving. Yeah, just
Okay.
as a hobby, like Ryan and I founded the product while we were scuba diving. We just went to Cabo to go scuba diving right before the pandemic hit. We try to go a few times a year.
That's
Uh,
badass. I think that's cool. And then on top of that, I also saw you're like this big time. I don't know if this is the right term, but muralist in Los Angeles. So you have this
yeah,
whole like mural business on the side too.
yeah, yeah. I've been painting for a long time. Art's been a huge part of my background. I used to work in art and music, so creativity has always kind of stayed with me in the same way martial arts has. Like, if college was defined by, yeah, if high school and college was more defined by my martial arts career in like a professional sense, I think post college, I dove into the creative side more so in that professional regard.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. And then yeah, your background, like your degree is actually in neuroscience, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay. So quite the background. I just thought that was cool to start this off because I was looking at this and I'm like, Ken's done all this wild shit, and I just never, I've always looked at your
Yeah,
neuro background. You got all this other cool stuff that you don't talk about.
it's pretty random. I mean, the product itself is supposed to be. I think it's for that. Like, everyone wants to do a lot of things, and we won't want to do it in the best of our abilities. And if we could be a product that could support you without bringing you down, get you in the right state of mind to be able to do all these things and find that balance, then I think we did our job.
Sure. Oh yeah, for sure. And when did you guys come up with the general idea and the concept? Was it based around just not having something that was like all natural, healthy that you could have on you all the time, as you kind of mentioned? Is that kind of the gist of the concept?
Yeah. So, when I was training pretty seriously, I would be traveling to Thailand to fight out in the stadiums over there. I would be traveling to Japan to train with the Olympic team and Imperial Guards. Like, fighting and training took up maybe 4 to 6 hours of my life on a daily basis. So while studying, while studying in college and trying to balance those two things out, energy drinks are like, there's a stigma against energy drinks now because they're obviously bad for you. Taking random pills is not good for you. All these supplements that a lot of these, you know, not, I'm going to just say their names, but like Dave Asprey's and the Tim Ferrisses of the world that are taking like 40, 50 pills a day. They have no baseline on whether or not it works.
Right.
And you're just pumping your body with all these random artificial and synthetic or natural but sketchy chemicals. Um, that didn't really appeal to me. And I started just mixing supplements in my own room, giving them
Okay.
to Ryan as like a guinea pig, and
Like
really just using myself as like a
what
case
kind of
study.
stuff were you mixing together? Just curious. Like what kind of supplements?
So it was during a time when nootropics was getting pretty big. And so I was, a lot of the things I was mixing was based around the racetam family. So piracetam, aniracetam, oxiracetam, as they shifted, modafinil, and then um, uh, Neopept. I mean, there's so many,
That's
that
yeah.
were kind of around during that time. Any like vasodilators that I could take before a test to do like quick short-term learning, so I could pass these tests. And eventually, as we started developing Neuro gum and Neuro mints, it became obvious to us that there are compounds that people have taken that are extremely effective. And our first product, our energy and focus product, was just natural caffeine, L-theanine, which is the amino acid derived from green tea, and then the more uh, bioavailable forms of B6 and B12. So the combination of all those things, the load size isn't that heavy, and they work. There's a reason people drink green tea or matcha to get their energy and focus, and there's a reason people take B6 and B12 to help them get their energy as well. So um, that's where we are today, and we're going to continue to develop products in our pipeline to continuously help people in
Yeah.
a more approachable way.
That's so cool. Yeah, I when I was looking at your products a long time ago, I just thought it was interesting because I've I in my background, I've, probably been consistently like I do like functional fitness most of the time. And I've
Hmm.
been doing that since freshman year of college back in, what is that, 2010. And it's funny to see like all the other stuff that I've taken over the years. I've tried to learn more and more. And I think back to like even like coffee consumption to like, yeah, energy drinks for a while. I've tried like the caffeine, just straight pills, which I'm sure are horrible for
Yeah.
you. And it's just so interesting to find that you guys have founded a product that is really bridging the gap between like a need, which is, focus and energy, and it being healthy and natural. I thought that was like one of the biggest things that stood out to me because that's like a personal problem. It's been a challenge for me. It's like not over caffeinate myself with, shitty products, to put it plainly.
Yeah. Also, you get burnt out. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if like in high school you were taking what was it, like C4 and NOS and
Oh
all
yeah.
those
I still actually
great.
have
It's like,
C4 at the house. That's funny.
do you?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that shit's like so over the top with all their ingredients. Like
Well,
it
I was gonna
works.
say, like,
It pumps you
is
up.
something like is Neurogum, because I actually haven't tried it yet. I've been meaning to buy some. Is
Oh
it
shit, yeah, I'll definitely send you some.
okay? That'd
Yeah,
be
we're in
great.
CVS also.
Okay. Yeah, you guys are everywhere, by the way. I
Yeah.
was looking, I was gonna ask you a question about distribution later, and I was like, they're everywhere. You is when like for you, can you take Neurogum and feel like the same pump or whatever, not pump, that's a bad word, but like same like focus and energy to go work out or to do mixed martial arts that you would with like any other type of stimulant? Is it that kind of feeling?
It's it's definitely different. Because we're not like pumping your blood with beta alanine and then 200 milligrams of caffeine that just goes, well, it's surging through your veins. For us, it's like you could take our product throughout the entire day and multiple times a day because it's only 40 milligrams of caffeine, 60 milligrams of L-theanine, and that's just gonna it's more sustainable energy. So
Mm.
your body's not burning itself out.
Right. It's not like you're getting this
Yeah,
huge high to then crash that you feel after you drink like 2 cups of coffee or a ton of
exactly.
pre-workout.
And your body's baseline, if you're having constant spikes in your action potential and withdrawals, the baseline you're setting gets lower and lower and lower. Or sorry, the tolerance gets higher and higher and higher,
Yeah.
but the baseline of effectiveness gets lower and lower and lower with any of these compounds that you take.
Oh,
So
true. Okay.
we try to take the minimum effective dose. That's if I mean, I take it throughout the day. It works. I don't burn out. I'm energized throughout the day. While most people drink coffee, like I don't know, like a 220 milligram caffeine drink at Starbucks.
Right.
And of course you're gonna feel like crap, like afternoon.
Yeah. Well,
So
yeah. I mean, I feel like for the longest time, I was having like 2, 3 cups in the morning. If I worked out in the morning, I'd have like pre-workout early in the morning when I'd
yeah,
work out, and then I'd have like a coffee in the afternoon, and by the evening, I can't even stay awake. So I had to like
right.
totally like detox myself from caffeine. So this sounds like this is more like something you could kind of take throughout the day, and you don't really feel any of that high to
Hmm.
low as you're talking about.
You should never be abusing anything, right? And
Yeah.
it's the
Right.
same thing
Right.
with caffeine.
Yeah.
And caffeine abuse is pretty bad in America.
Yeah,
So
for sure. Yeah. I know when I like had to kick myself off it, it was like horrible headaches for, a week. I couldn't believe
Oh
how I
yeah.
was like, I went to the doctor because I was like falling asleep sitting up in the evenings, and I was like, "What is this from?" And he's like, "It's from your caffeine consumption. I guarantee it." So,
Oh man.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I didn't know how bad that was until I went through it. But that's why I think your product's so interesting, because that's something that like would be nice to have, just like a constant kind of flow instead of these huge
Hmm.
spikes. That's so
Just
interesting.
balance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Right. One of the questions I wanted to ask you, so you guys have been working on this for a few years now, and you co-founded it with your friend Ryan Chen, is what I've read
Hmm.
online, right? And I was curious, a question I love to ask on here is, do you remember basically like the conversation you and Ryan had when you two were like, okay, we're going to start Neuro? Do you like remember where you were and having that conversation?
Yeah. I mean, it's so it was during a scuba diving trip, and Ryan is a paraplegic. When he was 19, he was snowboarding, got in a really bad accident, and became paralyzed from the waist down. But in standard Ryan fashion, he still got out of the hospital, finished school in 5 years. Got a double major, and like
Wow.
just one of those guys that kind of keeps going. And to really help, it was like I was trying to give him these supplements that I was mixing and being like, hey, these are way more effective than anything else that you would be taking. So we would be taking these pills before these scuba diving adventures or whatever adventure we were going on. And one day on our way back from the boat, we're like popping these pills, in public and looking around and realizing like, wow, like this is we like look like drug addicts. Like this is not a good look. So we try to go back and think like, what is it that we could share with people? Because both Ryan and I are pretty social people, and realize like the one thing that everyone asks for in a classroom is gum, right? When
Yeah.
like the kid busts out the pack of gum, everyone's flocking to him like vultures. So took that same concept and applied it to the supplements that were already in place that were effective. And um, I think it was like a little over a year of research and development that went into place to make sure it tasted okay. And now it tastes a lot better than when we started. But um, getting you know, a minimum viable product to push out into the marketplace, and uh, it, we're very fortunate that it kind of just took off.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's funny. You kind of said a few things there I would love to unpack, because
Yeah.
number one, I like that clicked to me when I was reading an article you guys had talked. I forget which article it was, but you guys were talking about like the shareability factor, which I had never thought about. Like what a great idea to think about, like what's something that people want to share. And like to your point, it's gum. Like it's such
Right.
a a very common thing, no matter who you are, your age, demographic, where you live. That's like something everyone seems to share. That's such a good point. um I just thought that was a really cool way to like bring that. So you guys basically went from, you started in pill form, and then you brought it to gum and mints. Is that how that transformed?
Yeah, pill form, and then finding a gum manufacturer that wasn't uh, one of the major, private companies that own everything in America.
Right, right.
So we manufacture in Vancouver, Canada,
Okay.
but um, take it to them, work with their chemists to make sure the formulation's right, and yeah, came out with the product. And we launched on Reddit because I was like a pretty big contributor on the Reddit nootropic forums, and
Oh,
that's really what led the charge on uh, us getting our Indiegogo funded in like less than 3 days.
yeah, I was gonna say, I saw that. It was like record breaking time for that sort of company too.
It was crazy.
I
We
was
didn't
gonna
know
ask, like,
shit
how
about
did you,
marketing.
yeah,
It
how
was
did you,
like,
yeah, how did you decide to like go for this podcast specifically? I thought this would be an interesting point for listeners, is like, how did you guys decide to go on Indiegogo? Like, what were kind of the thoughts behind like running a campaign on there and picking them for
it
Neuro?
was like, Indiegogo and Kickstarter are both amazing marketing platforms if you use it correctly. And I think that's the only thing we were thinking about. It was like, okay, let's shoot a video. Um, because like I did have a background in film. Like I went straight to film school after college before leaving. But um, it was like, okay, let's shoot like a video at my place. Let's store the gum at my place. And we have like 3 huge pallets of gum, like taking up half my apartment. And during that time, it was like, let's, I think that was literally the only thing we were thinking. And it was like, we
Okay.
should tell our friends. Like, we didn't know how to market on Facebook. We knew how to reach out to people. So, Tyler, who's our COO now, and I would just like stay up and like email anyone that talked about CPG products.
Okay.
And they, it was just, they wrote about us. It was cool. Like, some of them got back to us and we're just like, this is pretty interesting. I've never heard of this before. Let me write about it. And the first person to write about us was Time Magazine.
Oh, wow. Well, that's not a bad one to
Yeah,
start
so
with.
it was
Yeah.
like, whoa. And then after that, it was like this, the floodgates opened and we got so many like media mentions. So it was, there wasn't any rhyme or reason except like, okay, let's just do it and
Yeah.
see what works.
Okay.
So
So it sounds like, was there even, I mean, it sounds like you and your friends and you guys that started it kind of were like gung ho and believed in it. That's like a huge part of this story, it sounds like to me. Was there anything like another common question I've been asked and I ask on here a lot is like, did you guys have the support of family and friends when you thought of this idea, or did the idea come off to a lot of them as like foreign and really like a strange out there product?
yeah, we gave like our first batch of samples to our friends, and all of our friends were just like, "Oh my god, this is like they're like smiling through their teeth. They're like, this is really interesting because
Yeah,
it did taste bad." And um, through the years, I think we took all that feedback though to heart because it was
sure.
so uh, personal to us. And like now for all of our flavors, like we go up to Yakima, Washington to like smell the mint that we're going to use for our flavor. Like, we're so specific now about making sure that everything is good.
That's
And
awesome though.
yeah, like again, I think it's Ryan and I are always conscious of like of what people say about us, maybe too much so,
Uh,
and it translates into our business. Yeah.
yeah, no, that makes sense. And it seems like, I mean, being in the CPG industry, I definitely can empathize with just like the quality and the taste and like the initial reaction of people trying the new thing is just like so important. So I can see how
Hmm.
you'd want to just like over analyze and make sure it's like the perfect product before you bring it to market. Did Speaking
Yeah.
of like bringing it to market, you guys started this, what year did you start Neuro? Was it like actually like first product?
2013.
Okay. So were you
Yeah.
guys working on it full time then all the way until you launched, or were you guys doing other things while
Um.
working on Neuro?
So I was painting murals and I was working at a music studio, making music for film and television.
Oh,
And Ryan
cool.
was working at Hulu. So we both had two jobs. And even now, like, I paint murals, and like that's still a big part of my life. But it's, yeah, the week is always devoted to Neuro. And then I usually, a mural gig comes up, not now because of COVID, but it probably comes up once a month, and I'll go and paint that.
Okay. And
Yeah.
how much time does it take to do I'm sure they're all different, but how long does it take to do a mural?
Yeah. I mean, it's like the biggest one I've done was, yeah, I guess I painted like a five-story building in Shanghai, like the
Whoa.
inside of a building, and that took 2 weeks. And
Wow.
I think I slept only like 5 days out of those 2 weeks
Trying to be a
because it was right
CEO
when
of
Neuro was starting.
I was gonna say trying to be a CEO of a CPG company and doing that. That's a wild combo you don't hear of often.
Oh man, it was brutal, but it was just like we didn't know how to fundraise, so it was
Sure.
like, okay, like we're making money, but everything's getting pumped back into the business. I don't have a job except painting murals, so I gotta go paint,
Yeah.
and yeah,
But
it was good.
that's awesome though. And then you guys, this is another piece I love to ask is when you guys started, I'm assuming, did you guys start on your own website? Was that like the first place? And then from there you've grown into brick and mortar, or what was your like distribution plan? Because for gum, I'd have to think it's got to be a little different than like what we did at RX, but it's probably similar in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, it probably is similar. Like, we started online, and like I think we shared the CrossFit community
Yeah.
as one of our early adopters. And I mean, the CrossFit community, despite what their founder says,
Yeah.
is really great and amazingly supportive, and we still are extremely involved with them. So uh, they helped kind of start the foundation for a lot of the influencer marketing that led to website sales. And we really didn't go into brick and mortar until like a year and a half ago.
Oh,
So that's
okay.
actually really recent for us. Yeah,
Got it.
it
Okay.
was mostly online.
But and then now though, you're in a lot. I saw you're in Walgreens. I saw Walmart. Like you're in like major brick and mortar now, right?
So we are activated with Walmart, but we're not in their stores yet.
Okay.
So we're in Walmart.com, like same
Yeah.
with Target, and then Walgreens we were gonna get activated with, but then we heard how. I mean, if anyone's listening to this and they're from Walgreens, I'm sorry, but I heard how much of assholes they were with kind of ad allowances, free fills, and things like that. And most people get just like they get like screwed over.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we
It's a
want to
tough,
work with partners that
expensive.
work.
It's a tough,
Mhm.
expensive business partnership for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and like you're not the only person to say that. Like everyone says that. So
Yeah,
we're
I
like,
think
all
that's
right,
pretty much like
CVS
the
has been great, but
okay. Well, that's good. That's good.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
no, I mean that's exciting. So, and then how big is the Neuro team now?
21 people.
Okay. All right. Wow.
Yeah,
And all of you
small
guys are in Los
business.
Angeles?
Uh, LA, Washington, Chicago. We have a few people in the Philippines. Um, yeah, we're like
Wow.
split up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like with this environment too, it's like even more through the internet and split up. So I'm sure like that's not too big of a challenge. That's exciting though. That's a lot more people than I thought you guys had.
Yeah, we just work it was like the smoothest transition into working from home
Okay.
because most of us were already in that zone anyways,
Sure.
um, and remote work. So
Right. Right.
yeah,
No, that makes sense. That's wild.
it's
Um, one of the questions I also wanted to bounce over was obviously I feel like 2020, I don't know, like with COVID, how it's impacted you guys. I guess that's a question I'll ask is has COVID been, obviously not positive for anybody, but like from a business perspective with more people going online, has that helped you guys in any way? Has there been pluses and minuses to your guys' growth because of COVID?
yeah. I mean, the last 3 months have been our biggest months, in
Wow.
our company history. So
That's
we
awesome.
continue to grow. Um, we don't burn money. Like we're profitable as a business too.
Okay.
So and that's something that we always try to maintain because we don't want to be another CPG company that's just burning capital on ad spend
Yeah.
and like $50 CPAs. So no, the last few months have been great. And what's crazy is a lot of our sampling budgets have shifted over to high level influencer budgets.
Okay.
And that has been extremely effective for us.
Oh, interesting.
And we're probably going to push towards that direction.
Okay. Got it. I thought now I was skipping through real quick. Are you guys a sponsor of Joe Rogan's podcast now?
Yeah.
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 Okay. Okay. I thought that was wild. I was like, wait, is that Neurogum, like the like Kent's company that I'm talking to in a couple days? I heard it yesterday on his podcast. That's
Oh,
wild.
nice. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, sure that was that a tough one to get? I'm sure people line up to
No,
get
I
on
mean,
there.
so we were very lucky because, like Joe Rogan found out about us, or someone sent him product, and our PR agency like pushed him product, and then he just became a customer on his own. And
Yeah.
in that process, like when like his team reached out to us
Okay.
to see if we want to get in a deeper level of partnership.
He talks
So
about it all the time. Like I listen to his
it's
podcast pretty
awesome.
often.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, that's like the top of the notch when it comes to podcast marketing. So that's
Right.
fantastic for you guys for sure. Yeah, he's honestly he's the reason I obviously knew who you guys were before that, but then when I heard that I'm like, oh wow, damn, that's great. Great for Neuro. That's
He was
fantastic.
good. Like we were on Shark Tank pretty recently,
I
so
was
like
gonna
that's been
ask.
good
Yep.
too.
Yeah,
And
for sure. Would you
yeah,
mind going into that a little bit? I'd be so curious to hear
sure.
just that process. And actually watched a clip of it today because I hadn't seen that episode
Nice.
yet. And I saw you said you were the one that said no to Mr. Wonderful. So how was that, and how was that whole process?
Oh, dude, I was like ragging on him. He probably hated me. I was
You
like,
kept your
man, my
cool though. A lot of people get on there and really get flustered and worried. You just were like, I was impressed, Kent. I was running those numbers in my head real quick, and I'm like, they must have done a ton of due diligence before going on the show to
yeah.
know just some of those numbers and making sure you knew what you wanted to say because you were quick on the sticks on making a decision.
Yeah, I mean, we filmed last year, like last August, I want to say. So It's been a while, and like we didn't air till like a few months ago, but it was I mean, it's nerve wracking. They really do their due diligence on everything, like they just want to make sure that like they're on top of it, their legal team's on top of it. And when you go in, the people that do like the sharks are okay with getting a little embarrassed, but if anyone's going to get embarrassed, it's going to be the companies that go on. So,
Oh, okay.
um, I mean, it's just drama. They want to create good drama,
Right. It's a
and
show. Yeah.
yeah. But it's funny. They reached out to us when we first started our company, like 3 months into it, and very, very fortunately, we just like they didn't accept us for some reason. They reached out to us, but they didn't follow up with us,
Okay.
and it was great because we didn't know anything. And now that we know more about business, um, their diversity, like whatever it is, I forgot what the exact title was, but had a casting call in Arizona. So Ryan and I flew out to Arizona, 112-degree weather, did our pitch, and we didn't know if it went well or not. But then they reached out to us like 6 months later, and they were like, "Okay, guys, are you ready to be on the show?" And they made
Whoa.
us go through this whole pitch and everything, and
Okay.
yeah, they pushed us forward to the very front of the line to pitch in front of the Sharks.
And how
So
long
it was
was
pretty
it
cool.
between those two? Like, how long was it between those two attempts to be on the show?
So it was, I guess, like 4 years
Oh.
for between the first time and this most recent time,
Oh, so you guys were like a
and
totally
then
different company by then too, right?
totally different.
Oh
Like
yeah.
we already fundraised, like we knew how to like talk about numbers. It's
Right.
yeah, like our packaging looks like I didn't just do it in Photoshop. It was
Well, yeah, because I
it's
saw you guys
so
had your
fortunate.
new packaging. Was it? It wasn't public then, was it? Was it?
No, it
Yeah. No.
wasn't, which is crazy
Well, I
though.
was trying to understand that because I was thinking, I'm like, they had to have filmed this a long time ago, but you just launched it like recently, earlier this year, right? So yeah,
Yep.
the new packaging looks great, by the way.
Yeah, we were just like, all right, let's prepare to. I mean, we look at RX bar actually because
Okay.
I remember your original packaging when it was like pretty bad.
When it was literally Peter and Jared did it in PowerPoint. Yeah. When it was,
Yeah, 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 exactly.
yeah. That was like
And
day
then you got
one
red
when he
antler or
started
something.
RX. Peter like showed us the PowerPoint that he started with. That was like in his slide
Uh-huh.
deck. It was so funny. I mean, literally, it was a slide in PowerPoint they printed out and put it on a brown packaging. It was
Yeah, yeah.
it was so simple. It's funny.
That's so great. Like, because that's, I don't know, parallel paths. We got a branding agency and now we look a lot nicer and a
Yeah.
lot more mature.
It looks great. Yeah, no, I love it. It's like the
Thanks, man.
simple simplicity. The whole thing is fantastic. But and back to Shark Tank. So I was so curious because I've never talked to anyone that went on there before. So like how much for you guys, like obviously it's a huge marketing opportunity, it's a potential investment opportunity. What is kind of like the process of getting on? I'm sure you have to share a lot of information with them, and then
Oh yeah.
yeah, so because they got to vet it all out before you're on there. Obviously it's not like the first time they're hearing about it, and then like I'm just so curious how that process works, and then there's got to be so much that goes into it that they don't film that we don't see as
Yeah.
part of
We
that
were in
too.
there for an hour and 40 minutes and they edited it down to 7 minutes.
You were in there for an
So
hour and 40 minutes in front of the Sharks.
yeah,
Oh, wow. I didn't know.
it
I
was
thought they
crazy.
were so the pitches are really like that long. They're like real pitches.
So usually they're about 45 minutes. We were just in there for a long freaking time.
What
It
did
was
you guys
crazy.
talk about for an hour and 40 minutes?
Dude, honestly, after the first 10 minutes, it just felt like a regular investor meeting, but
Okay.
there's more jokes. So
Really?
like Ryan and I are just in there and like now we're grooving. Like we're just chatting with them and I'm making fun of like I was like, Mr. Wonderful, like what if we like made a gum that can make your hair grow back? And
Oh,
like
really?
yeah, and they cut out so much stuff, but um probably because they don't want to listen to one company for that long on
Sure.
television.
Yeah.
So like we had Apollo, so Apollo Ono, who's
Yeah.
I don't know if you know her,
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
the the Olympian. She did like a whole shout out for us like on set and everything, and they cut that out. It's so
Oh,
weird.
weird. So,
Yeah.
like, how long when they were like throwing you guys offers, was that really at the end of the hour and 40, or was that like throughout and they just like edited it all together?
It's yeah, it's like throughout.
Okay.
But there was a moment where it's like, you guys have to decide. Like, okay, we're coming up to time now. Like,
Okay.
and what's crazy is when you're in the room, you don't. It really does feel like just you, me and Ryan and the Sharks.
Okay.
It did not feel like there was a production team behind the scenes at all.
Oh yeah, because like how
Like,
many people are probably in there during the actual filming?
probably so many. I
Yeah,
like you just don't notice them though.
because
They're
is it
behind
like
like
a legit TV set? I'm assuming. Obviously, it's like a
yeah,
yeah.
like very very well built out.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's so cool. So then, so you guys walk in and what? I forget the exact numbers. You guys wanted what? 750,000, 5% stake.
750,000 at a $15 million valuation,
Yeah.
which is what we raised on, and then we're willing to say okay at 10,
Okay.
um, but they were trying to like lowball us down to 5, and then 7. It was just like we couldn't accept that deal. Like over
Sure.
50% discount. Yeah.
Well, and then yeah, because like from my understanding, I mean, like I understand how like the RX evaluation took place and happened, but like for you guys, when you're sitting there on a set, yeah, you've already raised some money, so you've had a valuation get set. And for the listeners, I think this is a really cool thing to like listen and understand is like
Hmm.
when you're negotiating that, would you mind going into a little bit like what that means? So like when you're up
Yeah.
there and you're asking for a certain amount of money and then they come back and they're saying your company's worth this instead of what you guys came in with, like can you walk through a little bit of how that works and what that means just for the everyday listener?
Yeah. Sure. So, I mean, everything is typically based on, at least in like our industry in CPG, it's on like a 3 to 5x multiple of revenue. So for us, we raised at 15, which is a little under 5. And I think when RX Bar sold, it was like
Mhm.
4.1x, right? On either top line or I don't think it was EBITDA, but it was probably top line.
Yeah, it was top
And
line.
we try to take that same approach because that's what every other CPG company was doing. We successfully raised, and there are certain, within the legal documentation, there's certain rights that a lot of these investors are given. And when you start raising again at a lower valuation, it starts disrupting all your previous investors' legalese. So that's one reason that we're like, okay, 10 is the most we could go to. Um, but on top of that, it was I, I'm not sure what kind of rhyme or reason the Sharks go into in their diligence because I'm sure they do more diligence if a deal does close on air. So I've heard. There's more diligence that goes into it, but it was we gave our numbers, we gave our reasoning on our valuation, the fact that like we at that time like we had like almost zero burn. It was like very small burn on a monthly basis. We, our growth trajectory has always been like this,
Yeah.
for the last few years. And for their response was like, like you could have your investors, but we're sharks. Like this is what we do.
Right.
And so we just can't. It was one of the biggest offers Robert ever gave, though, on the show, which was
Yeah.
nice.
It was huge.
Yeah, a
Oh
million
yeah.
dollars. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Do you so the one takeaway I had, and I've seen this from a few other companies, another company that I've been interested in their story from there, and I'm talking to one of the founders soon, is Super Coffee. And
Oh
they had a
yeah,
yeah, okay. So
we know Patrick Schwarzenegger is
okay.
a friend of ours.
Oh,
Yeah,
very
who's an
cool.
investor.
Nice. Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know he's an investor in Neuro.
In Super Coffee.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what's interesting too, is I feel like both of you guys, I mean, you guys didn't lock deals down on the show, but I almost feel like some of the companies that don't lock down deals and they have just like the drama that ends up ensuing, like in a good way for you guys, almost creates a
Right.
better marketing spin out for you. And then you guys can raise money or do whatever you want outside of the show. Do you feel like that's kind of how that works sometimes?
Dude, television is powerful, man. Media is powerful, and depending on how you take advantage of it, uh, outside of that contained segment, um, I think it's a tool that's always going to be in your favor to some degree.
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Because I'm sure you guys got a lot of new followers and new customers just from you guys being on the
yeah,
show and people wanting to try it, even without having to give up any equity in the company on
right.
that day, right? So cool. That's such a cool thing.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure that's something you can like always hold on to too. Do any of the? I was always curious too when you go on the show. and something like you guys or Super Coffee where like they end up not making a deal. Do you know of any situations where people like, do they ever reach back out and try to make a deal not on the show, or is that like part of the thing where they're like not allowed to do that?
I think so. I mean, so we're actually talking to on a different front, but Daniel Lubetsky, who's the
Okay.
founder of Kind Bar, and he was
Yeah.
one of our judges. And we have a whole like, frontline health workers, healthcare workers initiative alongside Kind Bar that we're doing right now,
Oh,
and
cool.
it was through Daniel. So
Oh, that's funny. So there, it always
yeah,
turns into a networking event no matter what, right?
yeah, and like Ryan just DM'd him on LinkedIn, and he was just like, "Hey, yeah," and then we hopped on a Zoom call with him. It was really pleasant, and now we're working together.
That's
So
so cool. It's so funny. And I feel like that's one of the cool things during COVID, not to make anything sound cool during COVID, but even
yeah,
like that and this podcast too, I feel like a lot of things have been unlocked with like everyone's kind of remote. And so people are just a little more willing to like give a few minutes here or there to like have a conversation because we're all on Zoom anyway than we were, I think, when maybe some of us were in the office and you were stuck in meetings all day. I just think that's
right,
been kind of a cool unlock that I think people are just, I don't know, people are networking a lot more now than they ever were. Just from my
yeah,
perspective, it's been
and
interesting to
it's
see.
okay to like in between these, in between these meetings or in between work, like I'm going out and working out. Like I'm
Yeah,
stretching at home. I'm like diving into my hobbies.
right.
I can wake up like 30 minutes later than I usually
Yeah,
do.
100%.
There's so many good things that again, like not to make anything sound good during this time, but um, when you're stuck with yourself, you learn a lot more about yourself,
Oh,
and
100%.
that's healthy.
I agree. Yeah, I know like for me, I live in the suburbs of Chicago, so it's like
Hmm.
it's not crazy, but it's 45 to an hour probably door to door once I get on a train and walk and
Gosh,
like do the whole thing. And so it's crazy like just that even like 2 hours a day, 5 days, it's 10 hours a week that I have back to do this. You know what I mean?
that's
Like
amazing.
it's so there's stuff like that, like even the little things like that of just like not commuting to a physical office has been wild for me at least. It's been kind of a game changer
Are
it's
you
been
guys going back to the office? Like, what's the plan?
we're trying to figure that out. I mean, I think, the crazy thing for us has been during all this, we've been, I think, arguably more productive because we have a lot of salespeople in the field and we've now all gotten used to like getting on Zoom and talking. And I think we're talking a lot more and things are moving faster because we're not commuting. People aren't, I don't know. I don't know if it's like, I think it's just more time to your point that you can do other
Yeah.
things, but you can be more focused when you need to be focused. Um, so we're trying to figure out the go back to the office strategy. We have an office in River North, which is like, it's like basically downtown. It's like a little part of downtown Chicago. And, we moved into a new office in the beginning of 2018 and it's just us and it's 9 floors. So
Oh wow.
the problem is we have, a little over 200 people that work for RX now. And to try to get 200 people into an office and do all the PPE and do it safely, I think right now the challenge between that and all of us commute on public transportation in Chicago, like it's such a big public
Oh my
transport city,
gosh.
like getting
Yeah.
all of us on trains, it's just gonna be tough. I think for the company, it's gonna be tough to figure out just like what that strategy looks like in a safe manner. Just
Right.
with any company, I think that works in a building when you have, lots of people, one person gets COVID and then what's the plan then? Do we all go home again for 2 weeks? It's just complicated. I
Right.
think that's been the one weird learning thing for me is seeing like restaurants open back up and, some people try to hang out the social distancing. And then it seems like the office is always, I don't know, personally, my perspective, I think the office space is always going to be different from now on to some degree. I think it's going to be
Absolutely.
tough to get, a lot of people back in one space again.
I will say from a business level, it's probably different with RX Bar because the size of the company. But for us, the amount we save on rent now that we're not paying it pays for a whole nother employee.
Yeah,
And
that's a good
that's
point.
huge.
Because yeah, were you
It's
guys in like a WeWork or something?
like a co-working space. That's not
Yeah,
WeWork, but yeah.
right.
And like, I mean, no way in hell am I going back to a co-working space.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was
Yeah.
to say, what is this like your place? Like, where are you at now?
Yeah, they're just my home.
Okay,
Like they're my
yeah.
bedroom.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, I mean, I think that's, the one thing I've been thinking through is like maybe it makes sense to have, I don't even want to like, not even like a co-working space, but maybe like something like that where it's like at least like smaller groups can come and interact in person. Because like I know
Hmm.
the one thing we really miss is like just the whiteboarding, like the going into a room and hashing
Yeah,
out an idea together. It's so hard to do on the computer like that, or that could be
so hard.
a business, if someone could figure out how to do that in a productive way. Because like I think that's like the biggest thing we all miss is just like getting into a room and figuring out a problem. um
Right.
that's like
Zoom is It's so weird because initially I was like, wow, Zoom or any of these video platforms are great because it shifts the focus to whoever's talking.
mhm.
But to your point, brainstorming isn't that. It's like knowing this person's talking about this person's thinking of an idea, and it's a web of interaction.
Yeah.
And the focus has to be dynamic, but across multiple people. And Zoom's and any of these video apps outside of their privacy concerns
Right.
is there's only two screens. It's either you focus on one person who's talking or making noise, which happens a lot of the time, and
Right.
or it's just the grid of all these people, and you have no idea who to focus on.
Yeah. And
So,
I think there's a personally, I don't know if you feel this way. I notice I'm a very outgoing person, but if I'm on a Zoom
mhm,
call with 10 people or 6 people, it is a little bit more harder to like jump in and not talk over somebody than in
yeah,
person for some reason. I feel like in person it just feels like you can kind of banter and someone can write stuff and keep talking. I don't know. That's like I
one
think been
hundred
the
percent.
one thing. I actually went and had coffee with one of my coworkers this morning, and I haven't seen anyone from the office since end of February really. And it was
Oh,
weird just to be in person and sit, 6 feet apart and just like write stuff and talk. Like there is just something different about it.
wow.
So I don't know. I think that's gonna be the weird thing is trying to figure out like how we kind of do some of both. But I don't know. To your
How can
point,
we capture body language, on a digital platform? It's
right?
could you there is a way of sensing when someone does want to talk, or like someone it's uh, those nuances are impossible to catch
Yeah,
through a screen.
right. 100%. I mean, unless they come out with a vaccine, maybe that changes it. And then, but then it's like
Yeah.
getting that out to everybody is going to take a long time. So I don't know, man. It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be a weird year for sure, at
Yeah.
least.
Well,
Who
yeah,
knows?
a lot more podcast episodes for you to go to.
Yeah, I was gonna say we gotta do a lot more of these. I got 10 hours a week to devote. So
Yeah.
that's so funny. Um, I know we've been talking for a while, but this has been a lot of fun. I had a couple more questions if you don't mind.
Sure.
The
Yeah.
one really it's like a two-part question that I would love to know for you guys. Like obviously, like you've launched some awesome products, you've raised money, you've done a redesign. I would love to know, like, and without sharing anything you can't share, obviously, but like, what is the next, what's your like 1, 3, 5 year plan for Neuro? And like, what is innovation? If there's anything you could share, look like, just curious of like what the
Sure.
future looks like for you in your mind as CEO.
It's funny because initially it was okay, let's try to enter the trajectory of grocery and be like, if it's pharmacies or sorry, like gyms, pharmacies, places like CVS, and then grocery, which is the hardest of them all in terms of supply chain. But now with the current state of the world, obviously that's changed pretty significantly. So now a lot of our shift is like, how do we optimize our digital platform and create ourselves into a lifestyle company more so than just a product company, so that we could bring more and more people in and have our customer base communicate with each other. So in that regard, the way conversations have been evolving have been about like, how do we reach out to fitness influencers and have them make fitness videos that everyone can share on YouTube? How do we create more content that can be shared? And that hopefully ties back to brand awareness. How do we shift our sampling into using that money to for something else, and
Yeah.
for like more conversation pieces. And I would say that's for like our 1 to 3 year goal. And then another division that we're creating in our company is just purely based around impact. So, as a company whose mantra is refreshing our state of mind, not just being an energy product or a calm and clarity product, but more so like really believing that if your mind is in the right place, you can accomplish anything. We would ideally want to create a big portion of our company to helping destigmatize and normalize mental health issues and mental health conversation. So that's kind of our 3 to 5 year goal. And you know, with the way we're going, if Neuro continues to be profitable and be able to support everyone that's in the company and we could continue to grow, we really don't have like any need to sell. Like, Ryan and I mean, money's nice, but being part of a, a company that really represents your lifestyle already is nicer.
Oh, for
And
sure. Yeah.
so we already have like a foundation to keep turning it into what we want to turn it into. So that's, if the right partner comes, we'll sell and we'll look for an acquisition. But if not, we would want to continue to grow as, a small business to a bigger private business.
That is so cool. Yeah, it's cool that you guys have been able to wrap this into your lifestyle. I think that's something that a lot of people try to do, and for one reason or another, always end up going down a different path. I think it's
Mhm.
pretty wild to see like how much you guys have been able to do that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, with its trouble.
Sure.
We work with a lot of MMA fighters now because I like love fighting. That's my
Oh, I was
background.
gonna
I love
ask.
MMA.
That was
Like,
one question I didn't get to that I was curious of. Is just like, do you have an MMA connection or anything now?
yeah, I mean, like Alexander Volkanovski, who's the UFC champion now. Like my training partners train with him.
Oh wow,
So like I went to his fight like in Vegas, sitting front row when he
damn,
won the championship. Robert Whitaker also out in Australia.
huge.
Henry Cejudo, who was triple champion. Like Chael Sonnen. We talked with him. I mean, we're so tied into that community, and obviously now with Joe Rogan also.
I was gonna
Uh,
say that must have been a slam dunk then.
yeah, like we were actually talking directly to the UFC to see if we could work something out, but we'll see. That's things shift, things
Exciting
always
though.
evolve.
That's
So
so
yeah,
exciting. If you this is a little off topic, but knowing you're such a big fighting fan, if you were someone like me, I've done Muay Thai a little bit. I did Muay Thai
nice.
for a year at Purdue when I was in college. What would be like the best if I had to pick one route for MMA or just mixed martial arts in general to start practicing, what would it be?
Like what martial arts style?
Yeah, like if I had just if you were like if I had time
Man,
for one, what would be the one you'd suggest?
I mean, I love Muay Thai,
Okay.
but I mean, jujitsu is effective. But the thing with jujitsu is it's it's so, being able to fight on the ground is extremely effective. But Muay Thai at the highest level has just so many variables also involved with it. So the combination between high level striking with Muay Thai and then Jiu-Jitsu would be what I would probably re-pursue.
Okay. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been wanting to try something again. It's been like a big thing of mine I've wanted to do. So maybe I'll try both of those again.
Yeah. Muay Thai, you don't have to be like hugging people, which is nice. Well, there's clinch work, but
Well, I was gonna
you know,
say with COVID, how are people is jujitsu happening? Is that
dude,
like
it's struggling.
yeah, I bet.
Struggling. Yeah.
I mean,
Bad.
because how do you even you can't even really do it, right? I mean,
You can't.
legally.
I
Yeah.
mean, same with Muay Thai also, but
True.
yeah,
Yeah. Shit. Yeah.
it sucks.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, but okay. Well, then once this moves on, though, I'm gonna remember this. Oh, I will definitely try both
Yeah.
of those. I appreciate it. Um, the last couple questions I always love to ask everyone that's been coming on here. Just some like very basic things. Like for you, you seem like a super intelligent guy who's got a wild background and into a lot
But
of things. What do you have like a favorite book or something from like a reading perspective or even listening audio that you would suggest to the readers just in general? It's like one of your favorites.
I'm gonna say like the nerdiest thing ever. I love reading. I don't really like audiobooks because you can't get the rhythm of like words.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I agree.
but from like the asshole lit perspective, I am a big fan of postmodern work like David Foster Wallace. So
Okay.
something like Infinite Jest, which every literature major talks about. Um, I'm a big fan of that, and I'm also a big fan of like lost generation fiction. So Hemingway's and Gertrude Stein and uh, it, or like even Steinbeck. But I'm a big fan of fiction more so than self help because you have to interpret the messages and the characters' motives yourself. And
Oh, yeah.
I love just diving into like that personally.
Got it. Okay.
Um, I also love manga and anime.
Okay.
So, and I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned in manga and anime, although it's not as mainstream in America. So, Vagabond is the story of Miyamoto Musashi, who's the greatest swordsman to live. And it's his struggle being like a person that wants to be a great swordsman, but the pressure that comes with that is you have to kill people.
Okay.
And so it's his struggle trying to understand that. Berserk. Um, yeah. Oh, there's a lot of good stuff like
No, those are
Miyazaki's
great.
films. Yeah.
Yeah, those
Are
are great.
good.
I've never read anything in that genre, so I have to check that out. I've heard of that
Oh
name
yeah,
before,
check it
though.
out.
Yeah, for sure.
So David Foster Wallace is fantastic. Oh my God. Or like Murakami. I'm reading 1Q84 right now by him.
Okay.
So which kind of blew up like a few years ago.
Okay.
But yeah,
Awesome.
all
I'll add
fiction.
those to the show notes for sure. Yeah, I was gonna say you were the first one that's
Yeah,
come on here to say no to like the self help stuff. So that's cool. It's a cool different angle to go at it. I
yeah,
love it.
yeah.
Um,
It's I don't know. Self help. Yeah, I have my thoughts about
no,
this,
that's
just in
fine.
general.
That's fine. I mean,
Yeah,
I never even knew what the self help book world was, and then I read like what is the first one? I probably got to like like Tim Ferriss for sure was like the first person I listened
yeah. Like
to, of
4 Hour Work
course.
Week, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Right,
like how is that not your intro into self help? And then
right.
yeah, but then I feel like you can also overdo it. Like you can just like go so deep into that rabbit hole, and all you're doing is like planning and self helping, but you're not doing anything. That's like
Yeah,
I know
exactly.
it's too many people that do that. So that's cool. I think like the creativity of the stuff you just mentioned to me, that's probably what unlocks a lot of ideas and stuff too.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's cool. I feel like the mental awareness, mental health space that you guys are even focusing on, like that's such a evolving you know, it's such an evolving space. Like, I guess another question I wanted to ask you at the end here
yeah.
was, speaking of that, is there anything you do for like, obviously you started a company that has a product that helps you unlock like mental performance, but do you do any meditating or mental awareness type practice yourself?
Do you know? So I used to meditate a lot for fighting, just to like our 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 trainer actually like forced us to meditate after class every day.
No.
But I don't do that as much anymore. But one like major mind shift uh, I had just dealing with a lot of my own like mental issues growing up is my pursuit early on in my career was always about what can I accomplish and what can I do and like this person that I was like looking to be. And as I grow older, that mentality shifted into how do I become happy? And because all the things that make me happy are the things that make me the person I want to be, without obviously hurting others and being considerate. But um, that's, I just kind of try to maintain that mindset with anything I do.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Very
Pursue
cool.
happiness.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's like a fantastic answer. That's so cool. I appreciate that.
Cool.
Really the last like tactical question I wanted to ask was this is a new one I've been asking people because I'm a very big nerd in this regard. Do you have any tools, apps? Is it just pen and paper? Like how do you, being a CEO of a company, how do you plan your goals, and then how do you like execute and like get tasks done? Like what tools and tips and tricks do you
Mhm.
use?
I'm a big fan of Miro, Miro, like
Okay.
Miro boards. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, it's like so versatile. And you could start organizing handbooks and everything in a very visual way that anyone could dive into. So uh, that's been on a digital front, that's been my favorite tool. Uh, and then I mean, like I'm on my bookshelf right now. I have like 30 of these where it's just kind of notebooks that are filled with scribbles and notes,
Oh yeah.
and
Okay.
like drawings and like so I always just have like a notebook with me um at all times. Uh and that's just to write down just any idea that kind of pops into my head. But it doesn't really help me with task management
Yeah.
at all. But I would say Neuro, and then we use Basecamp for its price. But um the thing that honestly has helped me more than anything is being able to trust people in my company. So
Hmm.
like, and have people that just manage their own departments and finding people that are able to manage their own departments, because then that's like, okay, that's a certain percentage of things I don't have to worry about because this person's handling it. and now you can focus on like all these other things, and that's why we're able to create an impact division, and uh, it allows the project management to be a lot smoother, just in
Got it.
general.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
just delegating
Oh,
and
that's
putting
a
ownership in your team. No, that's great though. I mean, the tools is cool, but then I think it's a really important part for anyone listening to this, you know.
yeah. I wish if there are better tools, please let me know because we're always trying to become more efficient. But
Sure.
yeah, we have our
Awesome.
like own special way of doing it, I guess,
Yeah.
in that
No, I
regard.
love that. That's great. That's so cool. And that's cool. I'm sure if anyone from your company listens to this to hear that you trust all of them, that's important too.
Yeah,
So,
we're all family. Yeah,
right.
that's
Awesome.
good.
That's so cool. So yeah, those are my major questions. How can people try Neuro? How do people get a hold of you? Those are like the last two major things I always like to ask.
All right. You can find us at getneuro.com, GETNEURO.com, or just search NeuroGum on Google and we'll pop up. We're on Amazon. We're in CVS. We were in a bunch of college bookstores if you're a college student, but unfortunately that's not opening up. And then on social media, you could just DM us at our Instagram at NeuroGum and say that you want it. I'm pretty open. You know,
Yeah.
just say you want to chat with me, and I'm happy to talk with anyone.
Awesome.
So
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for the time, Kent. It was awesome to get to talk to you and learn more
yeah,
about
man.
you and
Likewise,
Neuro. I really appreciate it. So
it's
thanks
cool.
again. Yeah, for sure, man. If I'm ever out in LA, I'll hit you up. And same for
Dude, please
Chicago.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. Well,
Awesome.
have an awesome rest of your day. Enjoy the summer weather while it lasts in
I
Chicago.
appreciate it. I'm gonna get outside right now and go for a run with the dog
Do
and
it.
just enjoy this weather, man. We don't get this weather all year round like you guys.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm happy being cooped up at home, but
Yeah. Yeah, don't blame you.
complacency.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Awesome. Well,
All
thanks
right,
again,
man.
Kent. Really appreciate you coming on, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon, my friend.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Later.
All right, see you, man.